On Sunday, Russia fired missiles and drones into Ukrainian-held Mykolaiv in response to pressure from the country's south, destroying an apartment building in the city's shipbuilding district and issuing a warning that the conflict was headed for an uncontrolled escalation. A significant effort by Ukrainian forces to regain land Russia took immediately after the February 24 invasion targets the southern province of Kherson, where Mykolaiv is located. Kherson is occupied, and its front line is about 35 kilometers northwest of Mykolaiv. Sergei Shoigu, the Russian defense minister whom Russian nationalists hold responsible for Moscow's military defeats, spoke with his French, Turkish, British, and U.S. colleagues about the rapidly deteriorating situation, according to the ministry. Without offering any proof, Mr. Shoigu claimed that Ukraine might aggravate the situation by using a dirty bomb or conventional explosives mixed with radioactive material. While Russia has stated that it could defend Russian territory with its nuclear arsenal, Ukraine does not. In their third phone call, Mr. Shoigu and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke in 3 days. Moscow made no more comments regarding the call's conclusion or the topics specifically discussed. Before Friday, the two had a conversation for the first time since May. In one typical Russian attack on Sunday, a missile strike destroyed the top floor of an apartment building in Mykolaiv, sending rubble and shrapnel flying across a square and into other buildings, where they shattered windows and caused walls to crumble. Reuters saw cars crushed beneath the debris. There were no recorded deaths. I tried to exit after the first blow, but the door was jammed. A second thunderous boom occurred a few minutes later. Alexander Mezanov, 50, roused from his sleep by the explosions, claimed that our door was blasted into the hallway. Russian kamikaze drones were shot down by Ukraine over Mykolaiv overnight, Regional Governor Vitaly Kim said on Telegram. The drones engineered to blow up upon hit have pounded Ukraine's energy infrastructure this month, intensifying attacks. Before an anticipated fight for Kherson, the regional capital on the west bank of the Dnipro River, Russian forces have withdrawn from portions of the front in recent weeks, and occupation authorities are transferring inhabitants farther into Russian-held territory. The entrance to Crimea, Russia annexed in 2014, lies near Kherson. According to Kherson's newly appointed Russian authorities, a bomb in the city left one guy dead and 3 others injured. Emergency services reported that an IED went off in the city next to an automobile. The incident in Kherson and Mr. Kim's assertions regarding missiles and drones were both unconfirmed by Reuters. Russian missile and drone assaults on civilian infrastructure have increased in response to Ukrainian gains in recent weeks near Kherson and in the country's northeast, damaging roughly 40% of Ukraine's power system ahead of winter. Tobias Elwood, the chairman of the Defense Committee, has warned that Vladimir Putin is laying the groundwork for setting off a so-called dirty bomb in Ukraine, which he will attempt to pin on later Vladimir Zelensky. This is a false flag being planted. Mr. Elwood emphasized that there was no indication that Ukraine had the capability or the inclination to detonate such a weapon inside its borders. He added, and they wouldn't. It would jeopardize international military and diplomatic support. According to Kyiv, Russian occupation officials in the southern city of Kherson encouraged residents to leave as Russian missiles blasted Ukrainian energy and other installations yesterday. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Russian strikes were extremely extensive in scope. He promised that, with assistance from its allies, his military would strengthen an already strong track record of shooting down missiles. Winter was coming, the war was about to enter its 9th month, and as Russia continued to strike Ukraine's electrical supply, the possibility of freezing agony loomed. The occupying authorities ordered citizens to leave Kherson, which was the subject of an intensive offensive by Ukraine. All residents must quickly evacuate the city and travel to the east bank of the Dnipro due to the tight situation at the front, the heightened risk of heavy bombardment of the town, and the possibility of terrorist attacks, according to a telegram post by occupation authorities. Following threats of a Ukrainian effort to retake the city, thousands of citizens have evacuated Kherson. Since October 10, Russia has bombarded Ukraine's power infrastructure mercilessly, destroying up to 40% of the system and at least half of its thermal power output. As engineers rushed to repair the network, officials in several areas on Saturday reported attacks on energy infrastructure and power outages. Governors urged residents to stock up on water. Power outages continued into the evening in some regions of Kyiv, and a city official warned that strikes might result in many days or weeks without heat or electricity in the Ukrainian capital. Mikhailo Podolyak, a presidential advisor, said that Moscow intended for the strikes to spark a fresh flood of migrants into Europe. At the same time, Dmytro Kuleba, the foreign minister, claimed on Twitter that the bombings constituted genocide. Moscow acknowledges attacking the energy sector's infrastructure, but denies doing so against citizens.